Svagatam, Susvagatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjala Sharakaya. Tashmad Gurave Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Samjivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Upesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancane Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Ishabanu Sute Devi Panamami Hari Priye Vanshakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna. Okay,
Hare Krishna.
so we haven't met for a long time. I mean, as far as I'm concerned. But you've been taken care of by Chandra Prabhu. So you didn't lose out anything. Okay, so let's give me a recap, at least of the 5th chapter, because I left you. We were in. When did I teach you last? You went the 4th already.
I think there were 3 back-to-back lectures from Chandra Prabhu. Correct.
The last 3 lectures were done by him. Huh?
Yeah.
3 weeks in a row. Yeah. Okay, so what you do is just recap the 5th chapter.
So basically, we discussed about the first 18 verses of the 5th chapter, Karma Yoga.
Yes, correct.
Where we discussed about a lot of different types. Like Arjuna talks about what is better. Like first of all, Krishna talks about renouncing the work, and then again recommends the work. So Arjuna is confused. So he asks some questions: what is better, what is beneficial out of the two? Then Krishna goes on explaining how they both are actually related to each other and not something which is completely contrary to each other. So then further, Krishna talks about the various means by which ultimately we can come to the point of devotional service. Then we at the end we end with the 18th verse, the Vidya Vinaya Sampanne verse, on which we discussed a bit, and then we ended the last lecture.
Good. So did you receive my sheet in regard to the comparison between the 3rd and the 5th chapter?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 2 attachments.
Did you look at it? I sent you, perhaps it was on a few days ago. Huh? It's basically this major resemblance between the 3rd and the 5th. I don't know if you had looked at this sheet.
No.
I gave you even the shlok details and the shlok reference, like 3-4 is purification, then 5-7 is
Yeah.
Vishwatma. So there's a strong resemblance between the two. 3-5, and remember, everyone is bound to act according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes. 5-7, it tells there that everyone is there. Someone who is done that level, who's nirgun, is dear to everyone. Everyone is dear to him. Then 3-6, Lord Krishna is warning us against the mityachar, the pretender. Should not become one, obviously. 5, 8, and 9. What is it like to be endowed with a divine consciousness? So there is lots of similarities. Then 3-10, 3:10 to 16, how to follow the Vedas, and then how to become nirgun, basically. 3:10 to 16, basically, we're talking about someone who is on the Brahma Bhut platform. He's nirgun, he's beyond the modes. How does he act? What are the symptoms? 10 to 16. And then 5:10, again, the lotus leaf example. Remember the lotus leaf? What is the analogy? 5:10. It's like a leaf, like a lotus leaf. It grows in the mud, it feeds itself off the mud, but the stem itself is beyond the mud, beyond the water even, and is untouched by the water, meaning untouched by the gunas pertaining to this world, even though it feeds herself from the mud, it lives off the material world, but it glides over, just like a swan, just like a lotus leaf. So this is the state of affair of a transcendentalist. According to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we don't reject the world. We're not Falgu Vairagi. We are totally steeped into this world, but we are meant to glide over, just like the swan, just like the lotus leaf. Then again, 3:21, remember, Name Patasti Kartavyam, Trishu Lokeshu Kinchanam, Nanavaptam Avaptavyam, Vata Eva Chakamani. Krishna is telling 3:22 that, yes, I have nothing to gain from this world, Arjun. I'm not attached to the fruits. I have nothing to gain, yet I'm driving your chariot. Yet I'm showing the example out of love, because it's part Sarati. So in the same way, Arjun, you do it. If I do it, what to speak of you? You do it. Just to set proper example. Then 5:11, same story, Jivan Mukta. Even if you are Jivan Mukta, liberated even in this body, still you should show the example. And then 3:26 is the preacher's verse, remember? We should never encourage someone to inaction. This is the worst. There's nothing worse than inaction. That is why the hippie movement was a disaster, because they rejected the bourgeoisie, they rejected the establishment, but they had no spiritual alternative, and they fell down further off from where they started off, isn't it? In the name of Tyag, but totally material Tyag, renunciation, they ended up worse. So we should never disturb someone in his path, even if it is sprung by ignorance, is totally fruitive himself. Yet we should not still disturb him. Rather, 3:26, we should try to entice him, certainly to do some seva for Krishna, Agyata Sukriti. Then he will become purified. And then 5:12, same story, Shantim Apnoti. So we can see very strong similarities. Did you notice between the third and the fifth?
Yeah.
That is why basically let's put it this way. The fifth chapter is the continuation of the third. And between, you find transcendental knowledge. Gyan, karma, vibhag yoga. The fourth chapter is called, let's put it, how do they call it? Gyan, karma, sannyas yoga. Yeah. Gyan, karma, sannyas yoga. The path of karma sannyas. What is the path? What is the path? What is the type of knowledge we need to do karma sannyas? Karma sannyas means renunciation, the giving up of karma, of action. So it means basically a karma. What kind of transcendental gyan we need to become a karma? That's basically the fourth chapter. And of course, we discussed long back, that's the I would say the crust of the Gita. Buddha Prabhu used to always emphasize that. What do we want? Nishkam karma, combination of Atma Gyan, Atma Yoga, Atma Tattva. We're not the body, we learned, we know, that's the bottom line. But it doesn't mean we should stop working. No, on the platform of knowledge that we're not the body, we carry on working for the sake of Krishna, basically. Yat Kadoshi, Yat Ashnasi, Yat Juoshi, Dadasi Yat, 927. And then that combination of the two, of transcendental Gyan plus working for Krishna, Krishna karma, then you become Nishkam karma. You become a karma. You may be indulging into 10, 12 hours of service a day, manipulating matter, apparently, but it still remains a karma because you do it for Krishna. So you're not entangled in what to speak of the fruits. You're not entangled in the fruits. You're not entangled even in the consequences. You may be killing. You may be sending off missiles to the enemy, like Arjuna. Still, you're up. You are anaga, sinless. So this is basically the beauty of action in Krishna consciousness. We never become entangled. That is why 4 chapters in between 3rd and 5th, because it brings lots of transcendental knowledge, not only now pertaining to, we're not the body, to 2nd chapter, but pertaining to Krishna is revealing himself. Who is he? Remember? It told us in the beginning of 4th chapter, why does he come? What does he do? What's the benefit of knowing why he comes? He himself escapes the fruits of work. Namam Kawani Limpanti 4:14. I don't become attached. I'm not entitled to the fruits, Arjun, because I'm not affected by work, because I don't aspire for the fruits like an ordinary jiva. And similarly, Arjun, someone who understands this truth about me, he also, or her also, escapes the fruitive reactions of work. So more we know about Krishna, the more we become nirgun, we become nishkam, we become akam, and akarma also. Is it clear? Any questions?
That's
Yes,
a nice.
Is it okay?
That's a nice summary of all the chapter.
Well, that's my job, huh?
Yeah.
And again, I told you many times, don't wait for teaching. Yeah? You know, there's no question. You can start teaching as soon as you learn, you teach. It goes hand by hand. Bhagavad Prabhu used to tell us, unless you start teaching, your studies are not complete. In other words, teaching is part of the studies. What is that blowing behind? There's a blowing and an echo with my voice. Is it me? Oh. Okay, so let's basically link it up with 518 onwards. So basically, since chapter 14, verse 14, and there's a break there. It's very interesting. This is one of my favorite sections of the Gita personally. The doership. It's very, very interesting section. I don't want to delve into it because Chandra did it, but a small recap. And knowledge of the three doers. What are the three doers? According to this section, 5, 14, 15, 16. Just look it up in the Gita.
Also the material nature.
Yeah. There's three doers here in this 5, 14, 15, 16. Soul, Prakriti, super soul. So there's some very strong statement here. The soul doesn't create activities, right? Then the soul, nor does it create activities, neither does it create the fruits of action, nor can it induce others to act. That's deep. You may cultivate someone in Krishna consciousness, and you may say, well, I made him a devotee. I made her a devotee. No, you cannot induce others to act. You may be instrumental, yes, definitely. By Krishna's grace, you have been empowered to some extent, but unless he himself, 1323, Upadrashta Anumantacha Bhata Bhakti Maheshvaraha, unless he sanctions, he supervises, he consents. And of course, prior to that, everything is carried out by the modes. 327. If you understand that you only are making things happen, then you're a fool, according to 327. Prakriti kriyamanini gune kamani savashaha. No, my dear sir, everything is carried out by the modes, and due to false ego, you are thinking yourself the doer. You're one of the doer only. The 5 factors of action. We will see to that in 1820, perhaps, 1815 or so. Okay, so then we may say, well, okay, if everything is controlled by the super soul, does it mean he's responsible for the sufferings and pleasures of the jiv?
No.
Okay, so
Dependence.
Yes, what is the proof? 515. 515 is very powerful. Nadate kasachit papam nachevam sukritam vibhuhu. Krishna is telling, I don't accept your pap. Nadate kasachit papam. Neither do I accept your sukriti, Arjuna. Nothing to do with me. Very tricky. The Lord allows the soul to fulfill his material desires. Yet he doesn't take the responsibility for his sinful or pious activities. You follow? It doesn't mean because you allow that you are responsible. Like, I'll give you a very vivid example. I just came from New Maripur. My son was kind of crying because I told him, let's go home, I got to teach. He said, no, I want to play with, he's helping Namacharya with a tractor, they're moving things around. There's a lot of work in New Maripur. It's a big rural community. And of course, there's another boy. So I told him, okay, you stay back. You stay back, but you take care of yourself. So I'm allowing him to stay back. It doesn't mean I'm responsible for what he's going to do for 2 hours. You follow? It means if he commits a mistake and he hurts himself, of course I'm going to intervene. I'm the father. Yet I cannot be told, of course they will say you're responsible because he's a minor. But ultimately, in the eyes of God, I'm not responsible. I told him, you remain under the care of this devotee, Namacharya Prabhu, but I'm not responsible. You understand? So It doesn't mean because Krishna consents, supervises, and witnesses 1323 that it is responsible for your good work or your nonsense. A very important section. Huh? This is dealing with predeterminisms. Is everything predetermined or not? That's a very sanguine and modern topic. Still today, people are debating left, right, and corner on this one. Krishna has gave his verdict in 3 verses. So 5:15, the Lord is the constant companion of the Jiv as super soul, okay? Then he understands very subtly, just like you smell a flower. So he understands the desires of the Jiv within. And then, beautiful sentence, desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the Jiv. Actually, if we boil it down to what it is, what do we own? What is the only thing we own? We own it. Let's face it. What do we own? What is the only thing we own? Do we own the body?
No.
No. Remember 4-7 or 7-4, sorry. Bhumila punavalo nalobayu, kambudevara evacha, ahankar etiyame, binna prakriti ashtana. My dear friend, binna prakriti. Those 8 elements are separated from me, but they belong to me. Then, do we belong our own soul? Do we belong ourselves? Krishna says 15:7, Mavimamcho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatanaha. All the souls belong to me. So we don't even own ourselves. We don't own the body. What's left? What's left?
Of free will?
Sorry, Prabhu?
Of free will?
Yes, desire. A beautiful sentence in 5:15. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the Jiva. Beautiful sentence. That's the only thing we own, actually. So then the Lord fulfills as he desires, as we say, help yourself. God help those who help themselves. So as you desire, as you deserve, he will fulfill your desire. As you deserve. First, God proposes, man disposes. Man proposes, God disposes. That was Thomas Hopkins. I don't know if Thomas Kempins. In the 15th century, there was one Christian philosopher. He came up with that beautiful sentence. Man proposes, God disposes. That's beautiful. I mean, it's an absolute statement. Thomas Kempkins, something like that. Christian philosopher. So, in other words, the embedded soul, this is the root of the problem. By our immemorial desire to avoid Krishna, that has created 5:16, by the way. It has created our own bewilderment. We are bewildered. This is the problem by agyan, ignorance. And this is beautifully put in 16. And then if that knowledge, that avidya, is gone, then it reveals everything, just like the sunlight in the morning reveals everything. So then he becomes aware of his own blissful nature, eternal nature. Constitutionally, he is a Jiva, he belongs to Krishna. But unfortunately, we've been entrapped. Avidya kama samgyanya tritiya shakti rishyate. We've been entrapped in these fruitive activities. Avidya kama samgyana. Tritiya shakti. This is the third shakti. Ishyate. We become entrapped. So we cannot blame the Lord. After World War II, the German ladies, they blame, oh, there's no God. My father died, my brother, my my son, my husband. There's no God, finish. Because they lost their male members of the family. Everyone was gone. 55 crore people died in World War II. 5 crore. Not like Gita, not like Kurukshetra, I know, but still, a lot of men died. So they blamed the Lord. That's a sign of ignorance. And basically, it boils down to this is the primordial hostility. We have some primordial hostility towards Krishna. It's a very deeply rooted hostility. We are hostile to Krishna. Primordial means intrinsic, extremely deep. It's like down to the core. This, we are averse, hostile, agyanina. This ignorance is so deeply rooted. We've been carrying this ignorance since time immemorial. That's the result of primordial hostility. Yet he cannot be blamed. This is the problem. We try to blame him. We're trying to blame others. No, because he simply engages the jiva according to the impressions, stuck on the jiva's mind since time immemorial. You understand? And we are impelled by these false egoisms, the hankar. And thus, because of this, we desire to enjoy independently. Krishna Bahirmukh. How does it go? Jivignesh, Krishna Bahirmukh. How does it go after that?
Yeah. Krishna Bhuli Sei Jiva.
Yes. Samsara Duk. Japataye. We become slapped by Maya. Samsara Duk. We turn our face away. We become slapped. Japatiya Dare. We become slapped by Maya. We want to enjoy, it's called Purusha Bhiman. We want to enjoy separately, independently. And thus, because of that only, we have to accept the brunt of the karma. Whether it be sinful or pious, it is the same. It's kamatmakam. Kamatmakam, Rishabdev explained 555. The mind becomes colored, just like a bulb. If you have a greenish bulb, the light will be greenish. If you have a reddish bulb, the light will be reddish. If you have a yellowish bulb, the light will be yellowish. So the coloration of the mind, according to the modes, will color everything. Everything, your activities, your consciousness, your deeds. And as long as the mind is impure, as long as the consciousness is unclear, you have to take birth and birth and birth and birth again. Krishna Bhuli se Jeev, Anadir Bahirmukh, Ataiva Mayatare, Deya Samsara Duk. So it's a very scientific process. It's not a religion. People are saying, oh, religion. No, it's a spiritual science. So that is why, sorry, we cannot take the credit for our achievement. Yet we must bear the consequences. See, 5:15. We have to bear the consequences of our pious or impious activities. So we are one of the doer, yes, 1814, 5 factors of action, but we are not the only doer. If we think we are the only doer, 327, we are a fool. We are the doer, yes, one. Otherwise, the injunctions of the Shastra would have no meaning. See, very interesting discussion. Very deep discussion. Although the soul is in truth conscious and active. Those, the Sankhyaits, the proponents of Sankhya, they wrongly separate those two functions of the living force. Atmani yecha bidam, they say. They ascribe consciousness to the Lord, Purush, and activity to material nature, Prakriti. They separate the two. So it doesn't work like that. Srila Vyasadeva refutes this idea in Vedanta Sutra. He says, and there's a verse, it's a sutra, Karta, it's Vedanta Sutra, Karta Shastrata Vadvat. Yes. Karta Shastrata, Vadvat. The Jiv must be the performer of action. Why? Because otherwise the injunctions of the scriptures, they must have some purpose. Right? So Baladev Vidyabhushan in Govinda Bhashya, remember Prabhupada dedicated the Gita to Baladev Vidyabhushan. He's such a great stalwart. He says the Jiv, not the modes, the Jiv is the doer. Because otherwise, again, like Vyasadeva, the injunctions must have some purpose. Shastra Arthat Vadvat. Like for instance, if you take Shastra, I'll give you an example. Svargo Kamo Vyajita. Svarga Kamo Vyajita means for those who want to enjoy heaven, they should perform some rituals. Atmanam evalokam upasita. They should perform some particular rituals to promote themselves to heaven. One should worship in the same way. One should worship with the aim of attaining the spiritual kingdom. So all these injunctions are meaningful only if a doer exists. If there's no doer in the first place, all these injunctions are useless. This is the point of Vyasadeva and Baladev Vidyabhushan. Then he goes, let's take the stand that the modes are the doer. If the modes were the doer, then those statements of the Shastra would serve no purpose. You follow? And then he goes, the spiritual injunctions engage the Jiv in performing prescribed actions. By convincing, this is the purpose of Shastra, we become convinced. Otherwise, if we don't become convinced in the first place, we don't act upon it. So the Shastra are there to convince us that, yes, we can act to bring about certain enjoyable results. That cannot be aroused by the modes of nature. Only a Jiv with a conscious is conscious, he has conscience. Then only a Jiv can come to that conclusion. Yes, I have to do something for my betterment, to bring about auspiciousness. So the Jiv is a doer, yes, but of course, his sense of doership is limited. Limited to what? I don't know. I'm not going to desire what you guys desire. I'm limited to my own range of desire and endeavor. I don't know what is your desire. I don't know what kind of endeavors you're going to put in to achieve your desire. But I know what I want, so I'm going to work for that. So, in other words, the soul is free to desire. That's the only thing we get, actually. I told you before. Again, provided 1323, the Lord sanctions and fulfills desire by the agency of Prakriti. And people will say, well, No, it's by the Mother Nature that we accomplish. Who is giving the green light to Mother Nature? 1323. I consents, I supervisors, I witnesses. See, it's a very interesting section. What is the result of understanding this knowledge? 5:16. One who has full knowledge of his constitutional position sees, only he sees, then his ignorance is destroyed as the sun lights up everything in the morning, in the daytime. Shasya Karmani, Sutta Goswami say the same in the Bhagavatam 1, 2, 20, 21. Chatsya Karmani, Drijvaivat Manishvari, then the soul sees Drijvaiva Manishvari. Then the chain of karma breaks loose. There's no more karma. You have broken loose of your karma. So this is why it's so important, this section. One who understands, this is the same thing as in 13th chapter, you will see. One who has received knowledge about the three doers, and he understands his position of dependence on Paramatma, is free from ignorance. So this is such a powerful section. And of course, he attains liberation. So let's move on. You had reached to
5:18.
Okay. So 5:17 quickly, because I didn't touch. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So this is interesting. We are entering another tiny section here, subsection. Simply acquiring knowledge of the three doers. What are the three doers? Soul, Prakriti, Super Soul. We'll see it in 1814, there's 5 doers. But for the time being, 3 doers are revealed. So simply acquiring knowledge of the 3 doers is not enough. It's not enough. One should apply this knowledge and take shelter of the law, fixing consciousness on him. That's Prabhupada said in 5.2, remember? Knowledge that we're not the body is not sufficient for liberation. It's not sufficient. One has to act upon it. Otherwise, you don't escape. You cannot escape from material bondage. That is why this chapter is so important. Action in Krishna consciousness. It is not action on fruitive platform. No. This is not fruitive, it's akam, it's akam. So that is why it's so important to have knowledge, just like we discussed in the 4th chapter. You may do so many types of sacrifices pertaining to your nature, but unless and until it culminates in transcendental knowledge, it's kind of useless, isn't it? Look at Gandhi. Gandhi was fasting, for political reasons, boycotting British Raj economy, British Raj grip on the all Indian economy. But was it a spiritual yagya? Yagyo Vishnu? Yes or no?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
No. And he was a great man. I mean, everyone knows Gandhi. So unless activities performed in full knowledge, why is it so important? Because it transcends one's advancement in real knowledge. If there is no transcendental knowledge, then it's kind of material. It's temporary results. You may get, definitely Gandhi got some sukriti, some material sukriti. It becomes globally, worldwide popular. Everyone knows Gandhi. So 17, basically, it describes the process of surrender to the super soul. So yes, because unless we may have so much knowledge, but unless we surrender, what's the use? But see the result of surrendering, 17, you see everyone is very advanced. This person is on the transcendental platform. You see all the jiv in the same way as the super soul. It's 1820. The 1820 is the same. Remember, the 18th chapter is just a recap of the Gita. 18th chapter is not even, in one sense, not part of the Gita. It's just a recap of the whole book. So 1820 says, one who sees the undivided spiritual nature in all beings only sees him. He sees, is the only one who sees really. Same here, 517. And then obviously that person is on, definitely already liberated. He's a Jivan Mukta. Very advanced. Equal vision, no envy. 18. You can go ahead with 18. Very famous verse.
Should I read through?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. 5.18. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Sunicha Eva Swapake Cha Pandita Samadarshinaha.
Yes.
Translation. The humble sages, by the virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater.
Yes. So very famous quote. Srila Baba used to quote it all the time. So this person is totally impartial to the mode of goodness, even Brahman and cow. Passion would be elephant. Ignorance would be svapacha. And svapacha means dog eater, dog. There's a beautiful book. I don't know if you know that book, Renunciations Through Wisdom. You know that book?
Yeah.
Actually, my Guru Maharaj, even without telling my Guru, Srila Prabhupada, he very early when he joined in 76, he noticed, because he was Bengali, so he, of course, that is his mother tongue. He noticed there's so many articles written in the 30s and the 40s by Srila Prabhupada, way back. And he could see they're there, lots of them. So what he did, out of himself, he made a book out of it. He translated them into English, and he entitled Renunciations Through Wisdom. And then he offered to Prabhupada. But he was extremely pleased, extremely pleased. No one told him. Say, yes, you have understood my mind. Yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Read that book, it's beautiful. You can buy it. Renunciations Through Wisdom. So there it says, that the true equal vision in relation to the Supreme. So how does it work according to your category of spiritualist? The karma yogis, how does it work for them? They perceive that all elements, all objects in this world, they understand, yes, these are materials for the Supreme, for his worship. And this is the very advanced karma yogi. You understand like that. Everything is there for his worship. So let me use all these materials. And he understands the karma yogi, very advanced, Nishkam karma yogi, that everyone is a servitor of the Lord. So then he comes to that 518 level, which is the purest stage of equality. Samadarshanat. Actually, it's mentioned the highest level in Krishna consciousness is Samadarshanat. Samdarshan. This is very advanced, extremely advanced. This is the top level. Even Ramananda Roy told the same to Mahaprabhu. Stavara Jangama Deke Nadeke Taramurti. He sees Stavara and Jangam, mobile and immobile, like us. But on top of that, he sees Lila Sfuti, he sees Ishtadev within mobile and immobile. This is, can you imagine? This is what Ramananda Roy told Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu agreed, he said, yes, wonderful. So this is the purest stage of Samadarshana. Is you cease to see in terms of, covering. This is very advanced. A giraffe, it's a girl, it's a mosquito. Can you imagine the level? And you understand it's very advanced. The body is rather, is established in the soul's inner nature of serving the Lord. Of course, at this level, you are a pure devotee, this 518. Very advanced fellow. 19.
Okay. Those whose mind are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the condition of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
Can you imagine? They are already Aham Brahmasmi. They are on the level of Brahman. So this is a liberated soul. It's a Jivan Mukta. This person is on the Paramatma realization, extremely advanced. He has, can you imagine, he has attained equanimity of mind. Prior to that, remember, I think in the 3rd chapter, we discussed someone who has achieved Paramatma, who has controlled his mind and senses, Paramatma is already reached. There's a verse like this. What is it? Someone who has controlled totally his mind and senses, Yoga Indriya Samyama, Paramatma is already achieved. So same story here. This person has attained equanimity of mind, the sign of self-realization. He's realized. He's a self-realized person. Brahmabhut. Totally beyond attraction, hatred, 527, Ishadvesha Samutena, Dvandva Mohena Bharat, totally beyond Dvandva, duality. So it becomes faultless. You don't see, just like Maharaj Yudhishthira, Ajata Shatru, his enemy is not born. Can you imagine? Some rascal may consider Maharaj Yudhishthira their enemy, but his enemy is not born. So it's faultless. You cannot find fault with Maharaj Yudhishthira because he plays the dice, and you cannot find fault. Because just like the little, Papa said, the little spots on the moon. Oh, look at the moon, it's got spots. No, the moon is the moon. There's no two moons. You cannot find fault with the moon. You cannot find fault with Maharaj Yudhishthira. He's on that level, Maharaj Yudhishthira. There's no question of hatred or attraction. He's sending, remember, while in exile, he's sending his brothers to fight on the side of the Kurus because they were attacked by the Gandharvas. They were gonna be massacred. Remember the story, Yvignesh? And
All of it.
And then the brothers, they kind of say no, let them perish. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, no, be careful here. We're having our own dispute within the family, but here they are attacked by outsiders, Gandharvas, demigods. So most probably would have been defeated. Then he sent them, you please go to their rescue. And brothers could not believe it. They said, I can't believe it. We have to defend those rascals. But they had to bow down and do it. And that time, even Duryodhana, you know the story. Even Duryodhana was he was softened like anything. Because by the grace, of course, they went there in disguise and no one could recognize them, but Duryodhana was not a fool. He said, who can vanquish the Gandharvas? They are demigods. They're not humans. And those 4 fellows, they dispelled the Gandharvas. Who else could it be? Then he understood. They are the Pandavas. And he becomes so soft in heart, Duryodhana. He was going to give, that night, he was going to give, he said, this Yudhishthira is too pious. He's too much in the mode of goodness. He's too powerful. He should rule, even though Duryodhana was coming to that conclusion. Can you imagine? So much, even Duryodhana was touched by the goodness of Yudhishthira. And that night, the Danavas, you know the Danavas? It's a Asuric species. They are Rakshas, they are Rakshasas, they are Asuric Danavas. They again intervene and they had to format Duryodhana again to make him more Asur. Don't weaken yourself. Don't become a Fatu. No. Again, they formatted him that night. So he became demonic again. But even Duryodhana was touched by such goodness, such virtue. This is amazing. So by fixing our consciousness on the super soul, on Krishna, one becomes extremely peaceful amidst the threefold miseries. Why? Because it's very advanced. He sees, can you imagine? He sees the threefold miseries as Krishna's mercy. This is the level of Mother Kunti. You know the verse in the prayers of Queen Kunti?
I think she paraphrases that even if the problems come and if that makes me remember you better, then let the problems come.
Yes.
Something like that.
Exactly. Remember, Yudhishthira had been re-enthroned. Everything was rosy again. All the rascals are gone. Krishna is going back to Dwarka after practically years of absence. Then she goes, my Lord, everything now has been reinstated. Everything is rosy, but you're living. So it's ma'a ashub. It's inauspicious. You're living. Might as well crawl under the threefold miseries, adibhotik, adidevic, adhyatmic. Why? Because at least we take shelter of you. And then if we take shelter of you, we escape the samsara. But that's the level of consciousness. She's on that level. She's on that level. She's welcoming danger. Can you imagine? She's welcoming problems. She's attracting problems. Who is on that level? Mother Kunti. She's one of the greatest lady in the history of mankind. It's very simple. So can you imagine? One who can see how Krishna reciprocates in this way. What to speak of liberation? Liberation becomes his rightful claim. You know the verse 10:14, 8. Tatenu kampam susamik shamano, bungyanam evatma kritam vipakam, ridvagvapu vivedanam namaste, jivita yo muktipade sadayabak. Liberation becomes his rightful claim. Very advanced, extremely advanced. He carries on serving Krishna. Rid vagvapubir, body, words, and heart. Even though he may get some token reaction of his past misdeeds, doesn't matter. Still I carry on. Mukti pade sadayabhag. Mukti becomes his inheritance. Finish. This is, Prabhupada said, that verse 10:14, 8, you should wear it like a leash on your neck, just like the dog is carrying the leash, and the leash is held by the master's hand. The leash around the neck of the dog. He says this verse is the leash around your neck. 10:14, 8. Okay, carry on.
5.20.
Yeah.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in a transcendence.
Yes. So we are carrying on. It's very, very high level of devotee here. We are discussing about the symptoms. One who has achieved, he is already muktipade. How did he achieve? By fixing his consciousness on the Supreme. So can you imagine? It's described here very forcefully, not bewildered by false identification with the body. Never. Just like Prabhupada. Prabhupada is on the verge of dying, and he's telling his disciples, didn't I tell you that we're not the body? He's dying himself. Didn't I tell you? When are you going to learn? Didn't I tell you that we're not the body? He's dying. Still he's teaching while dying. So this is exactly Prabhupada. He's never bewildered by false identification with the body. He knows, it's not only he knows, he has realized is a fragmental portion of the Lord, 15:7. He doesn't rejoice in achieving something or lament. We discussed 1854, Prasanatmana Shanshati Kangshanti, Samavhu Buddheshu, Babaktim Labate Param. He never rejoices, laments. Prasanatma is always Prasanatma, very happy, very advanced. All these levels are Brahma Bhut, Nirgun. So where does he get his pleasure from then? 521.
Mm-hmm.
Where does he get his pleasure?
From the super soul and within.
That way. Can you imagine? You can read out 521.
Yeah. Okay. Such liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme.
This is very advanced. Can you imagine? He only derives pleasure from his loving service to Krishna. Extremely advanced. Of course, the epitome of that is the gopis, napariyaham. Krishna is telling in 10th canto, napariyaham. I cannot reciprocate. I don't know. I'm sold out. I'm finished. Shri Krishna Karshini. You purchase me. I cannot. The only way you can be rewarded is by reveling in your own love for me. You can reveal yourself in your own love for me. I cannot reciprocate. I'm bankrupt. It's called bankruptcy. The bank is empty. Krishna says, I cannot. No, I cannot. At least Sudama, he tried to reciprocate. Sudama Lord Krishna took 2 bites of the cheap rice. It was like rotten cheap rice. Took 2 bites. He was going to take a 3rd bite. Who came in the picture? Remember? With Sudama Vipra in Dwarka? Mahalakshmi. She's, for that matter, she must have been, I guess, Rukmini. She stopped the arm of Krishna. She said, no way you can take a 3rd bite. No way. Already in 2 bites, you know the story, when Sudama Vipra came back to his own place, he could not recognize the place. He didn't even ask for the boon. His wife sent him off, please, he's your good friend. We are so poor, ask something. He didn't even ask. He came back. He could not even recognize the place. I got lost. Where am I? The Prabhupada said he became more wealthy than in the dead. Can you imagine? That is why Mahalakshmi, she stopped Krishna from taking the 3rd bite. It means, the Acharya explained, if he had taken the 3rd bite, no way Krishna could have reciprocated. Even herself, I cannot, she told Krishna, don't take the 3rd bite. That's Sudama Vipra. Now what to speak of the gopis, Krishna says, na pariyaham. I cannot reciprocate. Nothing. I have nothing. Too high. Krishna says, you have only to reveal yourself in your own love. You have to, this is the reward. Your love is so high. I myself am bound already. Shri Krishna Karshini. So this is, of course, it's even beyond than 521, but 521 is very advanced. That person already is rejoicing in his own service to Krishna. What to speak of Maya Sukh, Maya Dukh. This is long gone. And of course, why? 522, he knows. 521, who is quoted there? Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya used to be a sense gratifier, don't forget. When he was very young, he won the contest at 12 or so. He got half of the kingdom. So he got, definitely he reveled in sense gratification. He had half of the kingdom as a kid. Only by 30s or so, by mid-30s or so, he got it back by dint of his grandfather, actually, Natamuni. There's a long story behind. He ate some shag, some spinach in the mode of goodness, and repeatedly he ate that shag. That fellow would provide the shag to the cook of Ramanacharya. And one day, very, very interesting story, that fellow stopped giving the shag. So immediately Yamunacharya, as a king, he told the cook, where's that shag? The spinach, such a great spinach. Very, very famous and very succulent spinach in the mode of goodness. And the cook told Yamunacharya, well, I don't know, he stopped coming, my king. So then, Natamuni was such an intelligent person. You know what he did? He stopped coming because he knew the king would ponder, where did he go? And after some time, he came back. You know the story? He came back, and immediately the cook told him, yes, oh, thank you, you came. I'm so happy. The king wants to see you. Yep. Natamuni had thought out the whole thing. Such an intelligent fellow. Then the king called him up. Who are you? This is such a good shag. I'm attached to that shag. And then Natamuni reminded the king, remember? I know you. And then he just retold the whole story of the king from birth. And the king started crying like anything. He said, yes, I fell so much into Maya. And then this Natamuni saved him, actually. And then he came to his senses. You're right. Thank you so much. You saved me. Then he became the great Yamunacharya, who later, on his deathbed, shortly after he had departed, who came? The young Ramanujacharya. And he took those 3 vows. And each time he would take a vow, Yamunacharya would unfold one of his fingers to approve. He took 3 vows. So this is that Yamunacharya. That is why it says here in 21, yes, when I think of sex life, I spit at the thought, because he was into sex life. He was a king. So he speaks out of knowledge. He has gone through that. He knows what it is like. So it's not an artificial imposition. Oh, I spit because I'm supposed to spit. No. 522. He has gone over. Go ahead, 522. Na yehi samspashaja boka dukayana yaivate ajantavati konteya nateshura matibula. Very important verse. Why doesn't he engage? Because he knows Buddha. He's a Buddha. He knows, doesn't take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact, sparsha, ye is some sparcha. Some sparge. There's contact with the senses. Just like 214. Matra sparshas tu konteya, shitoshna sugatukuda. Same story. He knows. It is the source of misery. Why? Because it's just a contact with my material senses and the sense object via the medium of the mind. The mind is a matrimonial agency. I told you many times. It puts the contact of our senses, Kramendriya, Gyanendriya, with the Tanmatra, the Vishayan, the sense objects. Just like the matrimonial emergency will put in contact the male and the female. So he knows such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man doesn't delight in them. Just like Yamunacharya, he understood. Yes, I've done it. Thank you, Natamuni. You brought me back to my senses. He was in tears. He was in tears. Yes, thank you. I know. This is temporary. It's a source of future miseries. So immediately he escaped again. This is, he has been rescued. Yamunacharya was being rescued. And of course, I think I gave you so many questions, by the way, I forgot to ask you. Let's see.
I didn't receive your questions.
Oh, you didn't receive?
No.
How come Goloka received and not you? Because she replied. Anyway, let's do it together. So my question was, let's see. Okay, let's at least deal with 522. Then we'll go back. I think I forgot a few, but doesn't matter. We'll go back. So what's wrong with, and I think it's quite obvious in 522. Yes, according to this section, what is the test in terms of spiritual realization? What goes totally against it? We know it's quite an obvious answer. What goes against, totally, directly against spiritual realization? It's mentioned, it's 522 in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Did you see that, Goloka?
Yeah.
What is it? What is diametrically opposite to Krishna consciousness? What is the first number one enemy to Krishna consciousness?
Sense pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a famous sentence, I think it's in 522, sense gratification, sex pleasure, I would say, same, and spiritual realization go ill together. Irrespective, actually, of your practice in spiritual life, even Buddhists would know, even a Muslim practitioner, a real Muslim, I mean, even a Christian, even whoever, they know. So he's not attracted, that fellow is not attracted because he knows it's got a beginning and an end. And again, I'm going to suffer like hell, even psychologically. And it creates kutam also. We discuss in Padma Puran, there's different types of reactions to the fructification of the scene, right? Remember that verse? Prarabdha, aprarabdha, bij, falon mukam, kutam, pap. Kutam means it's going to create a proclivity in you. You understand? You have done it once, twice, it becomes a second habit. You get cured for your disease, like let's say venereal disease. But again, kutam, you got this proclivity. You've got this tendency to do it in private. And again, you fall down. And again, you get diseased. So someone who is quite Krishna conscious, he nips it in the bud, he knows. Before it goes to action, he knows, oh, I know it's going to bring a pleasure and an end. I've gone through that. Just like Yamunacharya, he's gone through that. He was a king. He knows. So much pain, so much psychological, so much guilt, feeling of guilt, especially as a devotee, especially as a spiritualist, you feel guilty. It's like a breach in your practice. It's like a knife cut. You have been cutting the contract with a knife. So then, of course, it implies 521. It implies to have a higher taste. Param drishvani vartate. It doesn't depend on external sense pleasure, that fellow. Can you imagine? He's so advanced. He finds pleasure within. Otherwise, again, if you have no param drishvani vartate, higher taste, how can you retire from the external engagements? You understand? You cannot play it both ways. You cannot pretend. You may pretend, just like 259. You may artificially stand aside from sense gratification. Yes, for some time it works. Yes, by dint of austerity, Lord Krishna was not happy with drone, Vishvamitra, even Parashuram, because they changed their varna. They could acquire their power by dint of austerities. But unless and until you are fixed in pleasure within, by factual experience, you tend to again fall down. But then, again, if you fall down, what does Prabhupada say regarding fall down? What does he say?
You start again where you left.
Yeah. You fall down 1,000 times, you get up 1,001 times. Just like the verse by Krishna in 11th canto to Uddhav. Jati, what is that verse, Vignesh? Jata. It's a back-to-back two verses. 5, 11, 20 something. That, it goes basically, even if you are a striving practitioner, sadhaka, Vedi sadhana bhakti, right? You are trained to stick to anyabhilashita shunyam, jnana kama navritam. But at times, due to your samskar, your vasanas from previous, experiences, impressions from the past, you may succumb. Krishna says, you may succumb to Uddhav. You may succumb. But if you repent, immediately you carry on. Sadureva samantavya samyameva viso isaha, 930. Ananyabak, bhajate ananyabak, you carry on. Bhajan, ananya. Then sadureva samantavya. It remains a sadhu. Arjuna doesn't agree. No, Krishna. No. If he's a sadhu, yes. But if he's doing nonsense, it's no more. Krishna said no. Krishna has to raise his voice. Konteya pratijanihi nabi bhakta pranashati. Proclaim it loud, Arjuna. Go out with wampers and tell them that my devotee will never perish. I'll see to it that he gets purified. 932. Very quickly becomes Dharma Vit. Very quickly. I'll take it. It's on me, Arjuna. Don't poke your nose. You proclaim it. So, it's a long haul. But here we're talking about that fellow is already liberated. He can sit anywhere, enjoy the activities within. Of course, he doesn't longer desire external. No. Brahmabhut. It's totally Brahmabhut. Basically, he's going back to Godhead. Jivan Mukta. 23.
Yeah. Before giving up this present body, If one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world.
Yeah, so that was my question. Until when we have to control the senses? Goloka, did you answer? This is the answer right here. Until when? Look at the Sanskrit, it's very clear. Prag, see?
Prag Sharira Vimukshanat.
Yes, Shodum Prag Sharira Vimokshanat. Until we drop dead, basically. Until the end. Until we give up the body. That is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to say, don't draw a conclusion now. He says, draw a conclusion on your deathbed. Very interesting. Don't draw your conclusion now. Draw your conclusion on your deathbed. Was it worth it to dedicate this life to Krishna? Was it worth it? On your deathbed, not before. So this is very interesting section, actually. So we can see 523, you just read, it tolerates the forces of talk, anger, mind, just like, you know the verse, Vacho vegam manasa kroda vegam jiva vegam udaro pasta vega. Then Sava Apimam, I'm forgetting one line. What is the third line? Vacho vegam manasa kroda vegam jiva vegam udaro pasta vegan. Savam apimam pritivim sashishyat. I'm forgetting one line here. Someone who controls all these enemies. In the line, actually, it's a diagonal, it's a, what do you call it, a vertical line. It's a vertical line.
Visheshata Dhira.
Yeah, sober. Yeah, it becomes sober. It becomes fit to initiate worldwide. Of course. So Guru should be there. This is basically we're talking about Guru here. Guruship. Advanced fellow. So now my question was, yes, I was a tricky question. It seems that the symptoms described in are difficult to attain. Why Shri Krishna declares in 26 that mukti is close by. So let's wait until 26 to answer. 24. And actually, there was another question that I asked pertaining to this section also. There is 3 times the same Sanskrit terms coming up, starting from 24. Why 3 times the same term? It's coming from 24, 25, 26, same term. Yes. Exactly. So you're going to have to explain that. Let's finish our first reading. 24, go ahead. You can read basically, we have almost finished now. Yes, very close finished. So read basically 24, 25, 26 in one go.
One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic, is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attained the Supreme. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose mind are engaged in within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sin, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future.
Yeah, so this is, apparently there's a dichotomy between, it looks like, apparently, these are tough verses, I mean, describing a very advanced practitioner. He's on sadhya. He has achieved, he's perfected being. He's a siddha, basically. He's a siddha purush. And then 26, he goes, liberation in the very near future. So how do you reconcile those two?
That is in the translation, right? Or in the very near future.
Yes, yes, in 26. In other words, this person is Jivan Mukta. He's almost liberated. Jivan Mukta means is liberated in his body. And beautiful, did you notice the beautiful metaphors, allegories? How does it go? With the fish, the tortoise, can you explain? What is the dint, by dint of meditation? Can you explain the analogy of the fish, of the tortoise? And you should know the analogies. There's about 250 analogies in the Gita. You better know them. Huh? You're going to have an exam at the end of the 6th chapter. You should be writing, by the way, 2 essays. I didn't get even 1 essay. You know. So know the analogy is going to help you a lot. Right here in 26. The fish, the tortoise. Have you read the purple?
Yeah.
How does it go? The fish. There's 2 ways. The fish, it brings its offspring by looking. Can you imagine? It's quite mystical. Fish is very low. Fish is beyond, do you know that? It's below vegetation. The memory of a fish is 2 seconds, 3 seconds. It's an even lower species than vegetation. Can you imagine? Yet, he's got that mysticism. He can bring his offspring by looking at them. And tortoise is also quite mystical. What does she do?
You wish through.
Sorry?
The eggs of the tortoise are laid in their line, and the tortoise meditate on the eggs.
Yeah. It's
Why?
amazing. Can you imagine? It's the motherhood is extremely powerful. Huh? At a distance, she can, by meditating on the eggs, she knows they are in danger. She's in the water. They're laid on the land somewhere. And by meditating, the baby are going to come out and crawl. Of course, be careful. While they traverse the beach, that's dangerous. Many birds are there. They will catch the babies. But still, some will make it. So similarly, the devotee in Krishna consciousness, we're far, all far away from Golok, Vrindavan. But we can, by dint of meditation, thinking, just like Mayi, what is that verse? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Mayi, Ashakti, Mana, Part. You have to engage your mind, Ashakti, attach your mind to me, Mayi, unto me. Mayi, Ashakti, Mana, Part. Yoga, Yungam, Samadashraya. Asam Shayam Samagramam, Yata, Yasasi, Tachrinu. Listen. Tachrinu, listen. Asam Shayam Samagramam, without any doubt, you will come back to me, provided Mayi, Ashakti, Mana, Part. Part, Arjun, you have to think, you have to become attached to me. There's no way around. And of course, that's the why Krishna is mentioning 3 times Brahma Nirvan, Brahma Nirvan, Brahma Nirvan. Such an important expression. What does it mean, Brahma Nirvan? 24, 25, 26. 3 times the same term. What does it mean?
Like freeing oneself from the material body and attaining the liberation.
Yeah. So in other words, it doesn't feel the pangs of material miseries. This is Brahma Nirvan. It doesn't, there's absence of material miseries Why? Because he's totally immersed in the Supreme. Just like, you know the verse, Vachamshi Vekunta Gunanu Varnane. You know the verse, Maharaj Ambarish, 9th canto. Maishaktamani Padaravindayo. Vachamshi Vekunta Gunanu Varnane. He's always thinking of Krishna. Going to the temple, cleaning the temple, touching the bodies of the devotees, smelling tulsi. All the angas, bhakti angas is doing, Maharaj Ambarish. And then on that level, of course, 922 is there. I preserve what he has. I provide what he needs. No problem. So devotee on that level, he's got time because basically he's taken care of by Krishna. He's got time to achieve perfection. He doesn't have to struggle to make a living. He lives so frugally. Krishna provides. So it's like Srivas Thakur. The boga would come through the window, Srivas Thakur. Can you imagine? The food would come to the window. So this is Brahma Nirvan, such an advanced person. This is interesting. This is what's laying ahead of us. Any questions? So now, starting from 27, 28, we are practically ushering into the 6th chapter, dealing with Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. Already we are, it sounds like 6th chapter already. Go ahead, 27, 28.
Oh, 27.
Yeah.
Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and the outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated.
Yeah, so we're talking about Kumbhak Yoga. I don't know if you know this yoga. It's part of Ashtanga Yoga. We are introducing the 6th chapter already. Kumbhak Yoga. This is very advanced. It's called Rechaka. I don't know if we discussed in the 4th chapter. They come to a state of equilibrium between the inhaling breath and the exhaling breath. It comes to a state of equilibrium, Rechaka. And by dint of that, you can extend your life quite considerably. So yes, he's introducing the next chapter. Yes, we can come to the same position that we have been describing here, very advanced, Brahma Bhut, by dint of practice of Ashtanga Yoga. So basically, we're introducing the next chapter here. And it's quite interesting, Ashtanga Yoga. It's not a bogus system. It's totally legitimate. Yam, Niyam, there's Ashtanga. What are the 8 steps, Goloka, of Ashtanga Yoga?
Yeah, I remember.
Yam, Niyam, there's Ashtanga. Asta means 8.
Pranayam and I know.
It's written in 28. Huh? Yam, Niyam, Asan. Unfortunately, people are totally engrossed in Hatha Yoga, Asan. Oh, yes, I know about yoga. No, you only know one aspect out of 8, and still you don't have the right purpose in mind to become fit, to become more potent, whatever, to have more stamina as a man, as a woman, to enjoy better, to be more supple. This is far cry from the purpose of the yoga. It's described in 529. Pratyaha, pranayam. Pranayam is important. Pranayam means, you know what it is. It's good. Even though as a devotee, sometimes it's good to do pranayam before chanting. Pratyaha, separating the sense from the sense object. Dharana, which is already quite advanced. Dhyan and Samadhi. So we're going to discuss at length all the next chapter. Now let's discuss about this very famous verse. This is 1 lakh verse of the Mahabharata. You know that? 529 is 1 lakh. Verse 1 lakh. The square number 1 lakh. Verse of the Mahabharata. Key verse. You have to learn by heart. Go ahead, Vignesh.
Uktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram shuradam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Translation: a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of mental miseries.
Yeah, so you explain this verse, Vignesh.
Even like Krishna earlier explained in earlier chapters of Bhagavad-gita, right? Yagya arthat karmano. So everything, ultimate beneficiary, ultimate object of sacrifice is Krishna. So in that sense, when we think that our senses and we need to utilize it for our sensual pleasure, that is when the modes of material nature influences us and then we get trapped. So that is a state of unhappiness. So if, like here Krishna explains that if you really want to achieve the eternal happiness, like Gyatvam Shantim Richati, so understanding that fact, that ultimate beneficiary, enjoyer is Krishna, then it's like there is another verse, right, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, like karma indriya, atma indriya, priti vansha, calm, and Krishna indriya priti is pure love. So in that sense, when we desire for our own sensual pleasure, that is like a lust and that actually traps us. We understand that ultimate beneficiary is Krishna and is the only enjoyer, then there is a true state of happiness in our proper constitutional position where we should be situated.
Okay, good. You want to say anything, Goloka, on this verse?
Yeah, the verse itself explains everything, that Krishna is, everything belongs to him. You know, he's a Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, and he's also in everybody's heart, and he's a supreme, enjoyer, as part and parcel of Krishna. If we want to be happy, to have peace, we have to be connected to him.
Yeah.
And we have to be, and follow his instruction and engage in his service, so that we also can be peaceful, because we have to understand that everything comes from Krishna. We cannot enjoy separately from Krishna.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, real peace, you're right. This is the peace formula, by the way. Prabhupada said this is the peace formula. Just if they do apply this verse today on earth, even in the midst of COVID, still peace will prevail. It's only possible on the platform of liberation. So a person who is fully Krishna conscious, of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, all penances, is the supreme controller of all the worlds, Bhaktaram Yagya Tapasam. Savalokame is the ultimate friend also. Only he can attain peace. This is simple, but just like Prabhupada says in 112, how to apply. People are far from that understanding. So when we say Krishna is Bhaktaram Yagya and Savalok Maheshwaram, whom are we referring to? What kind of spiritualists we're referring to here? That verse is all encompassing. Whatever we discussed so far in the Gita is included, whichever types of practitioners we discussed in the Gita so far, it's included in the verse. It's all encompassing. So when we say Bhaktaram Yagya, Savalok Maheshwaram, what kind of spiritualists are we talking about? Or at least practitioners, I would say. Those who are Bhaktaram Yagya, they want Yagya Purush, basically. It's called, one name of Krishna is called Yagya Purush. Whom is it important for? The Yagya Purush is important for whom?
For Krishna,
Yeah,
Yagya Purush.
yeah, but who are those practitioners?
Like Karmakandis.
Yes, excellent. Yes, yes. The Karmakandis, they're so concerned to fulfill their fruitive activities. So they're very keen on pleasing Yagya Purush, pleasing Bhoktara Yagya, Yagyove Vishnu. Yes. So already all the Karmakandis are going to be satisfied with that verse 529. And also the Karma Yogis. Because Karma Yogis has a spiritual dimension, which you don't find in Karmakanda, at least to a very small extent. But the Karma Yogis also are very happy to hear that verse because they know, yes, this is a confirmation that I'm doing it for Krishna. Bhaktaram Yagya is the Savalok Maheshwaram, is the enjoyer. And on top of that, it's not finished. Who else is satisfied with that verse? When we hear tapas, tap, Bhaktaram Yagya tapas, tapasam, that who's going to be pleased by hearing that?
Ashtanga Yogis.
Yes, the I would say the Gyanis perform austerity, tap. The Gyanis, yes, you're right. They perform, is the goal of the Gyanis then, tapas. The yogis. And look what it says, 520, Suridam Savabhutanam. So even the mystic yogis of the 6th chapter we will discuss, they're going to be pleased to hear that. Oh yes, Suridam Savabhutanam. Yes, I'm happy. Is the object of meditation. Everyone is pleased with that verse. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained, I'm the guardian, Bhoktaram, of the Yajna. I'm the guardian of the Karma Yogis, and I'm also the guardian of the austerities, Tapasam, of the Gyanis. That means I'm the object of worship of the Karma Yogis and Gyanis. Plus, Savalok Maheshwaram, I'm the great controller of all people. Even if you are Nashtik, who cares? I also control your world, my dear friend, your country. I'm the Paramatma. I'm the object of worship of the Ashtanga Yogis, the Paramatmavadis. We will see to that 628. At the perfected stage, they will visualize Paramatma in the heart. Can you imagine? They will see. It is the size of one thumb. It's mentioned in the 2nd canto, the size of one thumb in the heart like this. And it's always the size of one thumb, respectively of the species of life. For an elephant, the size of one thumb, according to the size of an elephant, of course. Always one thumb. For an ant, the size of one thumb, but the size of a thumb hand. You know? So Paramatma, yes, it is the object of worship of the Ashtanga Yogis. I'm the friend of all the jivas. I give benefits to all the jivas. And this is important to understand. Vishwanath explained, how do I give benefit? By telling them about bhakti. That verse is in the Gita 529. It's about bhakti. Via the medium of the madhyam is giving the verse. The preachers, they are madhyam. And by my mercy, I'm the object of worship for the devotees. So everyone, no one is left in that verse. Karma Kandi, Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Ashtanga Yogi, Bhakti Yogi. So basically, it claims all the different processes of all the conditioned souls, whichever they strive for, is the enjoyer, is the master, is the best friend. There's no place left for their false pretenses. We are invited to cooperate with Krishna. This is very important verse, one lakh verse of the Mahabharata. We can attain peace. This is the verse. Because we know we are eternally frustrated in our hopeless struggle for independent pleasure. So this is, and that book is great. You should read that book, Renunciation Through Wisdom. It will help you to understand Gita. Prabhupada has written very powerful articles in the 30s, in the 40s, very crispy. And this is what he says, Prabhupada. Forgetful of this relationship with Lord Krishna, and this is renunciation through wisdom. Forgetful of this relationship with Lord Krishna, the jiva falls into the clutches of Maya. Under the influence of Maya, it tries in vain to act the part of an enjoyer or renouncer. See, it's very interesting. Not only we try to enjoy, we try to renounce also. That's another trick of Maya. This is all mere fantasy, Prabhupada saying. In fact, the real affliction of the jiva is the pretense, is the enjoyer or the renouncer. So either way is Maya. Because it belongs to Krishna in the first place. How can you renounce it? So we are neither the renouncer nor the enjoyer. We are the enjoyed. Prabhupada says we are meant to be enjoyed by Krishna. That's our constitutional position. We are meant to be enjoyed. We are meant to be enjoyed by him. Just like women are meant to be enjoyed by their husband. So in the same way, we are basically husband. You are women. We are female. We are meant to be enjoyed by him. He is the male. Purush Uttam. So only when the jiva accepts this subservient position, subordinate position. Very interesting book you should read. And then another book I found which is great, Beyond Birth and Death. Prabhupada explained, God expanded into many, and we constitute those expansions. Very interesting. God is one, without a second, but he willed to become many in order to enjoy. Eko Bahushyam. He willed, means will, he wants to become many in order to enjoy. We have experienced that there is little or no enjoyment in sitting alone in a room, talking to oneself. However, if there are 5 people present, our enjoyment is enhanced. If we can discuss Krishna before many people, the enjoyment is all the greater. Enjoyment means variety. God became many for his enjoyment. And thus our position is that of the enjoyed. That is our constitutional position and the purpose for our creation. Both enjoyer and enjoyed have consciousness, but the consciousness of the enjoyed is subordinate to the consciousness of the enjoyer. Although Krishna is the enjoyer and we the enjoyed, the enjoyment can be participated in equally by everyone. Very interesting sentence. Although Krishna is the enjoyer and we the enjoyed, the enjoyment can be participated in equally by everyone. Our enjoyment can be perfected when we participate in the enjoyment of God. There is no possibility of our enjoying separately on the bodily platform. See? Very interesting section also. Beyond birth and death. So this is very beautiful ending of the Gita so far. So this is amazing. Huh? By accepting the real position of the Lord, the jiva, that's the only means basically for the jiva for attaining peace. In Ajatmik, we'll discuss very soon in the eighth chapter. Ajatmik, Adibotik, Adidevik. The only way to be happy within those three is that verse. Peace formula. Okay, any question?
Oh.
Yeah, the Gita is like that. It's totally ever fresh. This is amazing. What to speak of Bhagavatam? Okay, so we'll discuss, I guess Chandra will take over. I'm going to go to India from February 7th till March 1st.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to be teaching because it's going to be hectic, but I hope Chandra will replace me. Well, I guess he has no choice. Otherwise, Vignesh, you teach. And I can.
There is no one to teach. I cannot teach myself.
Well, there's Goloka. You can also.
She's more experienced than me.
Actually, you take turns.
You teach me.
You take turns.
You are more experienced than me. I'm just
take
a beginner.
turns. And I guess Chandra won't.
Vignesh will teach me here.
Anyway, you take turns. We are just repeating the acharyas. But again, don't delay because only one chapter left for your closed book, and then you have some shloks. Feel free to call me. Feel free to call me to recite your shloks. I think I'm going to have a different SIM card in India. I will let you know. And above all, don't forget your essays, because then you start dragging behind. It's hard to catch up.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that you stuck it out because, again, so many dropped out on the way. Yeah, it's like that. Prabhupada used to say, don't count those who come. Count those who stay. You know, you have been around for many years. It's not easy to complete. I just certified. Same story in French. There were like very few. Then it became big group. And then at the end of the Bhakti Shastri back to 2. So it's very interesting. Like we started first 3, 4. I forgot. 2 years. It took 2 years for that group. Like perhaps I would say 5 or 6. I think. Then it came big. 10, 12, easy. I remember, big group. Then, I got a baby, now I have to, I'll catch up, don't worry, I'll call you back. Then, I'm so much behind my essays, Prabhu, it's hard to catch up, I'm losing hope, okay, gone. And like, now they finished two of them. So,
somebody wants to join in the middle. There's one friend, she's thinking,
Yeah, so what I'll do, it's a very good point. Usually I mean, it's up to them. If they don't want, because, let's say one outsider comes now in the 6th chapter out of the blue, it may be lost. So if she's okay, I don't mind. Usually I tell them to start with a fresh book. Like, next book we have done, what have we done? Shresho, Gita, and what else?
Only 2.
Only
second one is going on.
So we'll do NOD next time. So if she can wait until NOD, but NOD won't take place before, we've got still another.
Next term instruction first, isn't it?
We'll do NOD. We'll do a next term instruction at the very last.
There's not so many chapters in next term instruction.
No, it's only 11 verses. So anyway, you tell your friend if she wants to join, but she's going to have to do a lot of catch up. Otherwise, if she feels more comfortable, she can join when we finish Gita and we'll do NOD, and then she'll have to catch up those 2 books.
She wants to study Gita. She said maybe she can just do the homework and everything.
Anyway, it's up to her. I mean, I don't want to impose on her. If she has to listen, she can listen to the classes and go through the manual and catch up. It's up to her. If she wants to join, she's most welcome. But again, if she doesn't know how far does she know the Gita, I don't know. she's a brand newcomer, it's maybe a little tough.
No. She's initiated devotee.
Okay, so to her. Again, you tell her she's most welcome.
Yeah, she's not sure yet. She's still deciding. So
Yeah. Because NOD, it's not going to take place before quite a few months, 18 chapters in the Gita.
Yeah.
Another 12 chapters.
So normally, like nectar of devotion takes a lot of time compared to.
No, it will be less. Nectar devotion will do just Purva Vibhag, the Eastern Ocean. So 19 verses, 19 chapters. It'll take less time. The big more soul is Gita, obviously. Yeah, if you can find people who want to join, they're most welcome. Even Vignesh, if you have. Yeah, I'm going to go. Yeah, he's not outside actually. Okay, I'm going to go and pick up my boy. He's
Hare Krishna, yeah.
somewhere in New Maripur. Anyway.
Kids like the temples because they can run around and
yeah, and they blame me, so they, who's taking care of your boy? And sometimes I tell one fellow, please look over him. Yes. And then where is he? Well, I don't know.
How far you live from the temple?
It's very close. We are 5-6 kilometers from New Maripur. Very close. But he likes to be there. He's a devotee, so he likes his friends and it's plus we're gonna have the Vyasa Puja of Jananand Maharaj on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So lots of devotees came here to prepare, So anyway, it's a nice community. It's quite thriving. Yeah. It's a holy place. Prabhupada came twice. He's got his quarters.
I visit one day. I was in Italy. I went to England. I've never been to France temple.
Yeah, next time you come.
Yeah.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Take care. And start working on your essays also.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Any help, just ask me.
Okay.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.